The Seeding is a horror thriller film that was directed by Barnaby, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and this originally was released in 2023, but got a limited and internet release in January of 2024, so this one has been out for a few months now. This is an interesting one, for sure. Before I watched this film, I realized that, or I read that this film was very heavily based on the Japanese film, The Woman in the Dunes, which The Woman in the Dunes is actually based off of a novel, a Japanese novel as well. I would assume that this would probably be a reimagining, and diving into this film certainly feels like a reimagining of The Woman in the Dunes, with a few changes here and there. The primary one for anybody who's seen this film is the addition of like evil children, like Children of the Corn style desert kids going on. That was not in Woman in the Dunes. But the whole focus on the two main characters, the guy and the woman, and him going into the dunes and everything, that's all pure Woman in the Dunes. Basically what we have going on here is this guy is in the desert and he's a photographer, and then he runs into this kid, and the kid starts acting weird, and the kid seemingly is hurt. He tries to help the kid out, and the kid like kind of lures him into this crevice, this dune area where there's a ladder to go down and there's this little shack in the dune, or in the crevice, crater, whatever you want to call it. And he gets stuck down there because the ladder disappears, and now he's stuck in this area, this like hole in the ground basically, and he can't get up because the rocks are not jagged enough, and there's no way to climb up kind of thing, and there's no ladder now. And he meets this woman, and this woman is extremely strange. She's obviously reclusive because she is trapped herself in this shack, and you have like evil kid stuff going on, and these kids look really like sinister, and they're dirty and they're filthy and they're run down. They're not necessarily like mutants or anything like that, but you can tell these kids are savages basically. Like they're purely savage, and they're dangerous, and weird shit goes on with these kids' mentalities and stuff like that. I like how this film opens up too, where there's this like little tiny kid, and he's chewing on a finger, and it's very disturbing because I like the camera work and just the aesthetic that they put behind that opening. So it's a cool way to open up the film. Unfortunately, I can't say this film worked for me too much because it's borrowing way too much from Woman in the Dunes. And I appreciate, as much as I appreciate them taking a more disturbing route to the story of Woman in the Dunes, where you have a man getting trapped in this dune and then kind of falling in love with a woman, but in a very strange and unique and bizarre way. It basically plays that story, except with the addition of the evil kids, you get some twists and turns and backstories and stuff like that with this woman's relationship to the kids. It takes like a motherhood plot twist kind of thing, and this woman starts to really get the upper hand on this guy, and the guy ends up like obviously confused in the whole situation, but he ends up very like subservient. It's too similar to Woman in the Dunes, and the new directions that they went for, I understand them trying to be risque and like disturbing and everything, but they just went too bizarre to enjoy, at least for me. Like it was just, I started to check out as this film reached its second half and beyond, and I just started to check out more and more as the film progressed. It's very artsy too. This film gave me a lot of vibes, and it reminded me a lot, of a film I watched from 2022 called The Outwaters not too long ago, and I have a review for The Outwaters on the channel that was highly disturbing, way more disturbing than this film is, and I loved The Outwaters. And stylistically, this film feels a lot like The Outwaters. The Outwaters was much more artistic and like a mindfuck kind of thing, and this one goes for that, but much milder. It's not as much of a mindfuck, it's not as artsy, so there's that. It's a little bit more grounded, like a little bit compared to The Outwaters, but the whole desert stuff and the whole atmosphere and the heat, like you can really feel the heat in this film. Atmospherically speaking, it's good, and the way it's shot, and it's like art house feel. It's a well made film. I guess it just really didn't work for me a whole lot. So it's not a recommendation from me, but it's worth checking out if anything I've said sounds interesting to you. So I can't really put the film completely down, but I can't say it worked for me either. So that's really all I got in the seating for that. So subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you'd like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.